He will never say, "I love you," the way you want him to. He might never even say it at all. But here is what nobody tells you. That does not mean he does not feel it. It might mean he feels it more than anyone has ever loved you before. And that is exactly what makes this so devastating and so confusing at the same time. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you are going to understand the avoidant man in a way that most women never do. And that understanding, it is going to change everything about how you see him, how you respond to him, and honestly, how you see yourself in this dynamic. But first, I need you to do something for me. Drop the word confused in the comments right now if you have ever felt completely lost trying to figure out if an avoidant man actually cares about you. Just the word confused. Because I want to know how many of you are walking around carrying this silent question that nobody seems to have a real answer to. And make sure you are subscribed, because what I am about to break down goes deeper than anything you have probably heard on this topic before. Now let us get into it. Let us start with something that most people completely misunderstand about avoidant men. And I mean most people, therapists included sometimes. The assumption is that an avoidant man is someone who does not want love, that he is cold, that he is emotionally unavailable by choice, that somewhere inside him there is just a wall, and behind that wall is nothing, just emptiness, just someone who does not care. That is not what is happening. That is almost never what is happening. Here is what is actually going on. The avoidant man wants love more than he knows how to handle. He craves connection the way anyone does. He is human. He has needs. He has feelings that run incredibly deep. But somewhere along the way, usually very early in his life, he learned something terrifying. He learned that needing people leads to pain. He learned that getting close to someone means eventually being let down, being rejected, being smothered, being controlled, or being abandoned. He did not just hear this, he lived it. He felt it in his body as a child, and his nervous system made a decision to protect him. The decision was this: stay close enough to feel connection, but never close enough to feel that pain again. And so he built a system that keeps him safe. And the tragic part is that this system, the very system designed to protect him, is the same system that pushes away the people he loves most. This is where it gets really important. Because when an avoidant man loves a woman, truly loves her, that system does not disappear. It does not suddenly shut off because his heart is involved. In fact, the opposite happens. The more he loves her, the more that system fires up. The more he feels for her, the more threatened his nervous system becomes. Because now there is actually something to lose. Now the stakes are real, and his whole internal world starts to shake. So what does that look like from the outside? What does that look like from where you are standing trying to figure out if this man actually cares about you or if you are wasting your time? It looks like confusion. It looks like hot and cold. It looks like incredible moments of closeness followed by distance that feels like punishment. It looks like a man who shows up beautifully and then disappears for no reason you can understand. It looks like someone who seems to care and then pulls back just when things start to feel real. And if you have been in this dynamic, you know exactly how disorienting that is. You start questioning your own perception. You start wondering if you imagined the good moments. You start wondering if something is wrong with you, if you push too hard, if you said the wrong thing, if you need too much. And that self-doubt, that is one of the most painful parts of loving an avoidant man. Not even the distance itself, the questioning of your own reality. So let us talk about what is actually real. Let us talk about the 4 things an avoidant man does when he truly loves a woman. Because these things are not obvious. They are not what you see in movies. They are not grand romantic gestures, but they are real. And once you know how to read them, you will never feel quite as lost in this again. The first thing is this: he keeps coming back. I want you to really sit with that for a second, because this is the thing that gets dismissed most often. People say, oh, he just keeps coming back because it is convenient. Or he keeps coming back because he is using you. Or he keeps coming back because he wants the benefits without the commitment. And yes, sometimes that is true. Sometimes a man coming back repeatedly is not love. It is selfishness. I am not going to pretend that every man who reappears in your life deserves credit for it. But here is how you tell the difference. A man who is just using the situation comes back when it is easy. He comes back when there is something in it for him right now. He comes back when his other options are not working out. He comes back on his timeline, for his reasons, with very little awareness of what his disappearance did to you. An avoidant man who genuinely loves a woman comes back even when it is not comfortable, even when he is afraid, even when coming back means having a hard conversation he would rather avoid, even when he knows things are not resolved and he cannot explain why he pulled away. He comes back because something in him will not let him stay away, because she is not someone he can just forget. Because even when his nervous system is screaming at him to run, some deeper part of him is pulling him toward her. Now, does that mean you should wait forever? No. Does that mean his returning automatically earns him another chance? No. We are going to get to that. But the returning itself, when it happens despite his discomfort, despite no clear benefit to him, despite him having to face things that scare him, that is not nothing. That is a man who cannot walk away from someone even when every protective part of him is telling him to. Watch the pattern, not just whether he comes back, but how he comes back. Does he come back only when it is easy? Or does he come back even when it requires something from him? The second thing an avoidant man does when he truly loves a woman is this. He lets her see things he lets no one else see. This one is subtle, and you might have missed it because it does not look the way vulnerability is supposed to look. It does not look like tearful confessions or long conversations about his feelings at 2 a.m. With an avoidant man, it almost never looks like that. It looks like this. He tells you something about his past that he has never mentioned to anyone. Not as a big moment, not as a dramatic revelation, maybe just casually, in the middle of a conversation about something else entirely. And then he moves on quickly, like he did not even notice what he just did. But he noticed. He absolutely noticed. Or it looks like this. He lets you see him fail at something. He lets you be there when things are not going well for him. He does not perform strength for you the way he does for everyone else. He lets the mask slip a little, not all the way, but enough. And that is enormous for him. Because for an avoidant man, being seen as imperfect, being seen as struggling, being seen as someone who does not have it all together, that is terrifying. That is one of the things he has spent his whole life avoiding. And if he lets you see it, that is not an accident. That is trust. Quiet, unannounced, probably never going to be labeled as trust. Trust. But trust. Or it looks like this. He has a sense of humor around you that nobody else gets to see. He is lighter with you, less guarded, less performative. He is actually himself in a way that takes years for other people to earn, and most people never do. These things might seem small. They might seem like nothing compared to what you want from him. You want words. You want declarations. You want him to say out loud what you see in these moments. And the gap between what he shows and what he says is incredibly painful. I understand that. But do not dismiss what he is showing you. Because for an avoidant man, showing is saying. He just does not have the language for it yet, or maybe ever. And that matters. That really matters, especially when you are deciding what to do with this relationship. The third thing an avoidant man does when he truly loves a woman is this. He gets disproportionately hurt when she pulls away. This is the one that surprises most women when they first discover it, because the avoidant man seems so detached. He seems like someone who can take or leave the relationship. He seems like nothing you do really affects him that much, like he is always fine, like he could walk away at any moment and not feel it. And then you pull back, maybe because you are hurting and you need some space. Maybe because you have decided to try a little detachment yourself. Maybe because you are tired of chasing and you finally stop. And something changes in him. He does not always make it obvious. He might not call you right away. He might not say, "Hey, I noticed you seem distant," but something shifts. He reaches out more than usual. He finds reasons to be in contact. He seems almost restless, almost unsettled, in a way you have not seen before. And if your distance continues, if he believes you are genuinely moving on, he can become completely undone. Not always in a visible way. The inside, he is not okay. Because here is the reality of the avoidant attachment style that most people do not talk about. Avoidants have something called a deactivating system. That is the part that pushes people away, creates distance, suppresses needs and feelings. But underneath that deactivating system is an attachment system that is just as active as anyone else's, just as hungry for connection, just as afraid of real loss. The deactivating system is loud when he feels too close. It tells him to run, to create distance, to focus on her flaws, to remind himself why this will not work. But when she starts to actually go, when real loss becomes a possibility, the attachment system wakes up, and it is louder than the deactivating system ever was. This is the push-pull dynamic happens. This is why he pulls away when you come close and comes closer when you pull away. It is not a game. It is not manipulation. It is the way his attachment system is wired. His nervous system is trying to find the zone of connection that does not feel threatening, which is always just slightly out of reach for both of you. Now, I want to be honest with you here. Understanding this does not mean you have to manage his nervous system for him. Understanding this does not mean you should manufacture distance to trigger his pursuit. That is exhausting, and it does not create real intimacy. What it means is that when you notice him responding to your distance with more presence, you can recognize that as information. He is not indifferent. He never was. He was just afraid. And the fear looks like indifference from the outside. The fourth thing an avoidant man does when he truly loves a woman is this. He makes space for her in his future without announcing it. This is one that takes the longest to see. But once you see it, it is hard to unsee. An avoidant man who does not care about a woman keeps his life completely separate. His plans are his plans. His future is his future. He might enjoy her company. He might have a great time with her. But when he thinks about next year, when he thinks about where he is going and what he is building, she is not in the picture. She is a present tense person, not a future tense one. An avoidant man who truly loves a woman starts to factor her in, not loudly, not with a speech about where things are going, but quietly. He mentions a trip he wants to take, and he uses the word we without seeming to notice he did it. He makes a decision about his apartment or his job or his city, and he thinks about how it affects her, even if he does not tell her that. He starts to orient his life slightly toward hers. Not completely, not the way a secure man might, but there is a pull. There is a gravitational shift. And if you are paying attention, you can feel it. You might also notice that he talks about the future in a way that does not exclude her, not in grand terms, but in small ones. He mentions something happening 6 months from now, and he is curious whether she will be around for it. He refers to things that are coming up as things they might do together. These are not accidents. These are cracks in the wall. These are moments where his real feelings leak out past his defenses. Now, here is where I need to be very direct with you, because we have spent a lot of time understanding him, and understanding him is important. But understanding him is not the same as making excuses for him. And this is the part that a lot of women miss. You can fully understand why an avoidant man behaves the way he does, and still recognize that his behavior is costing you something real. You can have compassion for his wounds, and still hold a standard for how you need to be treated. You can see his love for what it is, even in its indirect, imperfect, frustrating form, and still decide that this indirect, imperfect, frustrating form is not enough for you right now. Both things are true. His feelings can be real, and his ability to express them can still be insufficient for your needs. And you do not have to choose between being compassionate and being honest about what you need. You can be both. The question you have to ask yourself is not just, does he love me? The question is, does the way he loves me give me what I actually need in a relationship? Because love that never gets expressed is not enough to build a life on. Love that keeps you guessing, love that keeps you anxious, love that makes you question your own reality, that kind of love, no matter how genuine, can still cause real damage to you over time. So what do you actually do with this? What is the practical move when you are in this situation? The first thing is to stop trying to force expression from him. Stop setting up situations designed to get him to say what you want to hear. Stop having conversations that are really ultimatums in disguise. That pressure activates his avoidance harder. It does not soften him, it calcifies him. The more you push for expression, the more he shuts down, and then you both lose. Instead, create an environment where expression feels safer. That sounds abstract, so let me make it concrete. It means that when he does share something, even something small, you do not react with an avalanche of emotion that overwhelms him. You receive it, you acknowledge it, you let it matter without turning it into a whole thing. You make him feel like sharing with you is not a risk. That is how you slowly open the door wider. The second thing is to communicate what you need clearly, calmly, and without attachment to his immediate response. This is genuinely hard, but it matters. There is a difference between saying, "You never open up to me and I cannot do this anymore," said in the heat of hurt and frustration, and saying, "I need to feel more emotional connection in this relationship. I want us to figure out how to build that together." The first one triggers his defenses. The second one invites him into a shared project. It is not a guarantee he will respond the way you hope, but it gives you both a real chance. The third thing, and this is the one nobody wants to hear, but everyone needs to, is that you have to know your limit. You have to decide privately for yourself before emotion clouds everything. What is the line for you? Not a dramatic ultimatum, not a game, but a genuine, honest, internal answer to the question, how long am I willing to stay in this before the cost is too high? What would need to change for me to feel genuinely good in this relationship? And if those things do not change, what am I actually going to do? You do not have to tell him your limit. This is for you. This is so that you do not find yourself 10 years from now still waiting for a version of him that is never going to arrive. Because the painful truth is that some avoidant men do the work. They grow. They learn to love differently. They find partners who create the right environment and they actually open up. And some do not. Some stay exactly as they are. And the woman who waited loses years of her life that she cannot get back. Growth is possible, but it is not guaranteed, and it is not your responsibility to create it. His growth has to come from him. His desire to change has to come from within him, not from your patience or your love or your persistence. You cannot love someone into healing. You can love them while they heal, but you cannot do it for them. Here is something else I want you to sit with, because it might be the most important thing in this entire conversation. The fact that an avoidant man loves you in these hidden, unannounced, imperfect ways does not mean you have to accept a hidden, unannounced, imperfect love. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to need more. You are allowed to look at everything he is showing you and everything he is not showing you and say, this is not enough for me. And that does not make you ungrateful or demanding or impossible. That makes you honest, Knowing that he loves you should bring you peace, not obligation. It should help you understand the situation more clearly, not commit you to staying in it indefinitely. Understanding is not the same as accepting. You can understand someone completely and still choose yourself. And I want to talk about something that almost never gets discussed in these conversations, which is what this dynamic does to you over time. Not to him, to you. When you are in a relationship with an avoidant man, especially when you have an anxious attachment style yourself, which is incredibly common, anxious and avoidant pairs are probably the most common dynamic in modern relationships. Something happens to you, slowly, over time. You start to monitor yourself. You start to second guess your needs. You start to wonder if wanting more is the problem. You start to shrink. You become hyper aware of his moods, his signals, his availability. You find yourself calibrating your behavior around what might trigger his distance. You become an expert in him, and you lose track of yourself. This is not your fault. It is a completely natural response to an inconsistent environment. When you do not know what you are going to get, you become hypervigilant. You scan for signals constantly because the inconsistency has trained you to. And this hypervigilance is exhausting. It takes up so much mental and emotional energy. Energy that could be going into your own life, your own goals, your own joy. And here is the thing. You can love an avoidant man and still prioritize your own mental and emotional health. These are not mutually exclusive. In fact, the women who do the best in relationships with avoidant men are the ones who maintain a strong connection to their own lives, their own sense of self, their own standards. They are not waiting, they are living. And they engage with him from a place of fullness rather than need, which ironically is also the thing that tends to create the safest environment for an avoidant man to open up. Your security is not just good for you, it is actually one of the most attractive and disarming things you can bring to this dynamic. So let me bring this all together for you. When an avoidant man truly loves a woman, he comes back even when it is hard. He lets her see parts of himself he hides from everyone else. He gets genuinely shaken when she starts to leave, and he quietly makes space for her in his future, even if he never announces that he is doing it. These are not small things. These are the things that cost him something. These are the places where his love leaks out past the armor. And if you have been seeing these things and wondering if they mean what you think they mean, yes, they probably do. But here is the final thing I want to leave you with. His love being real does not make your pain invalid. His love being genuine does not mean the situation is working. His love existing does not mean you owe it your time, your waiting, your diminished self. You can honor what is real between you and still make a clear-eyed decision about your own life. You can care about him deeply and still walk away if the cost is too high. You can understand him completely and still choose someone who can love you in a way that does not require a decoder ring. The goal was never just to be loved. The goal was to be loved in a way that you could actually feel. In a way that made your life bigger, not smaller. In a way that made you feel more like yourself, not less. So whatever you decide to do with this, whether you stay and you engage differently, whether you have an honest conversation about what you need, whether you give it more time, or whether you decide that this is not the love story for you, do it from a place of knowledge. Do it from a place of self-respect. Do it knowing who you are and what you deserve. Because the woman who knows her own worth does not wait to be chosen. She chooses actively and consciously every single day. And that kind of woman, she is the one an avoidant man will always regret letting go of, if he lets her go at all.